wait, we. Okay. Go ahead and take his cuff off. Go ahead and get a jury. Joe, write your number in a piece of paper.
Colby?
No. Next witness is your last witness, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
She'll be reading for the four victim impact.
And then we do have a defense witness, or we don't this morning?
I was going to call about a half dozen lay witnesses.
That's okay. We'll proceed. But you said this afternoon there's some sort of a gap.
Yeah, I'm going to call only one expert today, and then I think both gets experts of both sides. All the same ones will be called.
Okay. All right. So the sequence is going to be the lay witnesses first,
Yes, sir.
then the.
Lay witnesses plus one defense expert, then all the other state and defense remaining experts.
All right. Thanks.
Jury.
All right. Jury's present and seated. You may be seated. The state called your next witness.
Yes, Judge. The state will call Dr. Aneesah Farris.
And then the defense reviews the same objection.
Same rulings will stand.
Testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
You'll come around here, please.
Watch these two steps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you speak loud and clear so the viewers can hear what you have to say.
Yes, Judge.
You may proceed.
And before you start, ma'am, could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for us?
Yes, my name is Dr. Aneesah Farris. Last name is spelled Farris.
Dr. Farris, how did you know Iwana Patton? How are you related to her?
She's my aunt.
And I know you have several victim impact statements you're going to read for family members. Before you read it, can you identify the family member and their relation to Ms. Patton, please?
Yes. The first one I'll be reading from my uncle, Parshell Patton. He is U.S. Army retired. The second one I will be reading from my mother. She is Iwana Patton's older sister. The third letter will be from my brother, Iwana Patton's nephew. And last one will be from myself.
And how is Mr. Patton, Parshell Patton, related to Ms. Iwana Patton?
He is the oldest brother.
Thank you, ma'am.
May I proceed?
Yes, please.
This is going to be Mr. Parshell Patton's letter first. To whom it may concern. First of all, I would like to say that I miss my sister so much, and I am also the older brother of Iwana Patton. I'm not able to celebrate her birthdays, holidays, or any other events that the family may have in the future. What hurts the most is that my sister and daughter have the same birthday. I will not see her beautiful smile or have any more conversations to hear her sweet voice. This joy of my sister was taken away from me and my family. I'm very emotional writing this letter. It has brought back the pain of when I got the news that my baby sister was killed, and not knowing why still hurts me today, and always will until my last breath. I will never understand why this happened to my loved one. My sister was a fun lady to be around. She was the life of the party when she shows up. She worked hard and was educated and wanted more out of life. As we all know, that life was taken from her without a reason or a cause. My sister was a warm person and did not have to die in the manner that she did on that lonely night. My family needs closure. I served 20 years in the U.S. Army, and never in a million years would I think that this would happen to any of my family that was not in a combat zone. Warm regards, Parshell Patton, U.S. Army retired.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next one will be from my mother, Iwana Patton's older sister. My baby girl had such an impact on my life. She is my rock, and she kept the family together. My sister always had something special for everyone's birthday. She was very caring and helpful, so full of love and joy. She kept the peace and was a beautiful lady. My sister, Iwana Patton, I think about her every day. The holidays and birthdays are the worst. We love and miss her. Such an impact on our life. She graduated from McKinley High School and got the medical assistant degree from her hand in influencing my life and career decisions. She taught me the importance of hard work and education. Because of my aunt's direct influences, I became a doctor, practice owner, and community servant. This is a quote from my aunt. To Aneesah, and my son's name I will not disclose. The date titled is July 1st, 2004. The rest of my life, quote, the rest of my life will be the best of my life. End quote, love Auntie. My beloved aunt, Iwana Patton, wrote this quote in a Bible that she gifted me. This personal quote is one she fulfilled her whole life and gained a renewed appreciation for it, right up until she was taken from us. My aunt was the most selfless, loyal, caring, and compassionate woman you could ever meet. She treated everyone like family. She was always happy and the life of any party. My aunt was the first female in my family to attend college, majoring in pre-medical and pre-health studies. Ultimately, she took a passion for caregiving and became a medical technician. And her life's work was centered around just that, caring for others. She loved caregiving so much that she worked in a facility in which she lived on the property as well. At the time, I was aspiring to be a physician and was impressed by such dedication. My aunt is the reason behind much of my career success as a healthcare provider. My aunt was one of my biggest cheerleaders throughout. As a teen, I told her I wanted to try out for a modeling agency, but I was unsure how I would make it to the audition at that time. My aunt said, "Oh no, don't worry, let's go." And just like that, we were out of the door and I was on my way. Later, she came to my college graduation in Florida. At this time, I was a new parent and a new graduate in need of support during this transition. Yet again, my aunt came to the rescue. She left her life in New York and she came to my aid. She came to Florida, became employed, and found her own apartment. This was one of the happiest moments of my life. I was reunited with my favorite aunt, and she would provide support for myself and my son. My aunt was my first role model as a child. She was beautiful, fun, educated, and independent. I wanted to be just like her as a child. I played dress up in her clothes and makeup. I hope you get the picture by now. She was the glue to our family, our problem solver, and a community role model. She loved all people. She was taken from us far too soon. I know we cannot bring her back, Oh, how I would give anything to see her again. She is missed by our entire family. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Anderson?
Nothing to defense.
Thank you. Be careful stepping down, okay?
Thank you.
All right, State?
The state at this time would rest judge no further.
All right, thank you. Defense, you wish to present anything?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, the defense calls Ms. Denise Williams, the defendant's cousin, and she is testifying by Zoom.
Her name is Denise Williams.
Yes, Your Honor.
Looks like she's logging on now.
Ms. Williams, this is Judge Zambrano. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, the next voice you will hear is Mr. Christopher Anderson. He is the attorney for Robert Hayes. You may proceed. I
Okay.
would prefer, I'm sorry, you need to get closer to the microphone over here. And Ms. Williams, if you don't mind raising your right hand for me and be sworn, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Okay, one moment, please. We're going to need to move the camera just a little bit down so they can see, so the viewers can see. Bill, can you slide it just a little bit over, if you can, without tripping over all the...
What, TV?
Yeah, the whole thing, I think.
Everyone get a good view?
Is that better for everyone? Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Ms. Williams, can you hear me?
I can.
Your Honor, did the court swear this witness?
She's sworn.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, would you please state your name and your connection to Robert Hayes?
My name is Denise Williams, and Robert Hayes is my cousin.
Ma'am, you spent some time in Robert Hayes' family home, right?
He spent time with my family and our home. I haven't been to his home.
Okay. And you were close to Miss Terrace Collins, weren't you, Robert Hayes' sister?
I am.
And you are familiar with Robert Hayes' mother, Miss Florence Hayes, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us about Robert's mother, Florence? Was she a strict disciplinarian?
Well, when Harris and I grew up, our whole family was strict. Now, when the younger one came about, they were kind of lenient with the younger kids, but with us, they were strict on us.
And did that strict discipline sometime involve whippings?
Oh yeah, we got good whippings. It didn't harm us.
And as far as you can see, that whipping was well intentioned, right? It was meant to protect the kids, right?
Correct. Yes.
And did that have something to do with the times and the neighborhood you were living in? The need for kids to be disciplined very strictly at times?
Well, if we was disobedient and we didn't do what we were supposed to do, and they kept telling us to do what we needed to do, then it was discipline time.
Yes, ma'am. And sometime did the discipline that Robert received go a little bit too far against him and almost cross into the area where it was too much?
Now, like I said, with Robert, I think they were more lenient. Robert and I are way totally different in age. So when we were coming up, and I say we, I mean Terrace and her uncles and my brother, which was my cousin, they was very strict on us. But I think as the years roll around, they got lenient on the younger kids.
All right. So if I understand you correctly, Robert did receive discipline and would receive whippings, but not as bad as the older kids that came before him, right?
I can't say that about Robert because I have never seen Florence disciplined Robert. Now, she could have, but I never seen. That's why I say I think as they got older, they got lenient on the discipline. But we was disciplined.
And that was a family thing, right? Just basically you lived in a time in the family that believed in discipline, right?
Correct.
Now, think of any nice things Robert did for other people.
For his people, you mean for the family?
Yes, brother.
Sure. I mean, we all got together when we had our family reunions, and my son and Robert, well, both of my sons and Robert, because they all three like to cook, would get together and put the family reunion together, and we'd go out to the beach and have the family reunion, and then even they would meet sometimes at our house and cook and prepare meals, and Robert would bring his meals he prepared, and then we just have our family dinner like for Christmas or Thanksgiving. They just wanted to get together for football on Sundays.
Okay, so if I'm correct, what you're saying is that Robert would cook for the family and
Yes,
and participate in family get-togethers, right?
correct, correct.
And what about work? Was Robert employed? Was he somebody that worked, or was he a loafer?
No, he was not a loafer. I mean, ever since I have known Robert, and I can say from school when he was in college, he came home. He still had a job. He was away. I think it was my niece, told us that Robert was working in Georgia as a chef. And so to me, he always kept a job. He always had a job ever since I known him. And they're all around food, so he was always around food cooking.
Well, do you have a chance to taste some of this cooking yourself?
Sure, because he cooked at our house and he brought food over. So yes, I got a chance to taste some of his cooking.
Was he a good cook?
He was a good cook. Between him and my son, they was at one time thinking about doing a food truck.
Are you aware that Robert had two children, two daughters?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to observe what kind of father he was to his two girls?
I can say I observed one of them, and that's the one that was that lives in California, Kylie, because he did get her for the summer, and then she would come over and spend time with my grandkids, because my grandkids and her around the same age, and so I would have Kylie and the grandkids, and while she was down for the summer.
Okay. So Robert included Kylie, his daughter, in family activities, right?
Sure. Yes.
And from what you could see, was Robert an involved father, an aloof father? Was he somebody that just dumped his girls off at babysitters, or was he involved?
But to my understanding, like I said, the only one I really know about is Kylie. He was involved in her life. You know, that to my knowledge, he was involved in her life. Because as a mother, you wouldn't send your kid from all the way from California to Florida to stay with the father for the summer if you thought something was wrong with the father.
All right, so it wasn't like Kylie was just right down the street or next door.
No.
They had to cross the continent to be together, right?
Correct.
Now, you mentioned that Robert was always working. Did you ever notice that he did not seem to stay with any one job for long, even though he was always working?
Well, sometimes we would talk, and like one time he was going out for a job at the school board, and he just knew he had that job, and so he left that one job to go to the school board, but it didn't work out. But immediately he had another job, so it's not like it was months and months and months he didn't work. But like I said, ever since I've known him, he's always worked in food.
Yes, ma'am. So, your understanding is he may not have kept jobs long, but he always worked, right? Robert, from what you could see, behave appropriately around other people, including yourself?
He has. I have never seen Robert raise his voice, Robert do anything outrageous that I would say he can't come back over to my house. He has done that before.
And did Robert act appropriately around children as well?
Oh, yeah. Yes. My grandkids are crazy. They call him Squeaky. So if you say Robert, they wouldn't know who Robert was, but his nickname is Squeaky, and they always ask about him, want to know where he was at, if he wasn't there, because like I said, he's always at the house, at functions, and so forth. So they had no issues with him, and I had no issues with him.
So the kids were fond of him, right?
Yes.
And that nickname, Squeaky, how did you get that?
I have no idea. I have no idea how he got that name. Because like I said, we're years apart, but that's the name they end up giving him as a nickname, but I can't tell you how he ended up with that name.
Okay, was that name, was it a term of endearment rather than a put down?
I'm gonna say this. Mostly everybody in our family has a nickname. I'm not really keen on nicknames. I rather call you by your birth name. So I always called him Robert. When they say Squeak, I was like, who y'all talking about? I said, okay, never mind. I know who you're talking about now. But yeah, I was always keen on your name, not the nickname. So I really don't know where the nickname came from.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's all I have. Thank you for participating here today. Thank you.
Stand by.
You're welcome.
Stand by. State, you have any questions for Ms. Williams?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Yeah. Ms. Williams, just stand by. The next voice that you will hear and you see is the prosecutor, Mr. Urbanek.
Hello, Ms. Williams.
Hello.
I just have a couple questions for you about Mr. Hayes. Isn't it true he attended college at Bethune-Cookman?
To my knowledge, yes.
And he graduated from Bethune-Cookman University?
To my knowledge, yes.
In your experience with Mr. Hayes, when he would come over to your house, do you consider him to be a fairly intelligent person?
Sure.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, just one hand.
Going to have to get up here.
Yes, sir.
The next person asking you a question is Mr. Anderson again, Ms. Williams.
Okay.
My position correctly?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, when your son lost his wife in an accident, was Robert there for your son? Was he supportive?
Honestly, everything happened so fast. I do not remember seeing Robert. But that's not saying he wasn't there. It was just something that happened so fast, and everybody was just caught up in those times right there.
Yes,
Can't tell you who was there, who was not there.
You don't know one way or another on that topic, correct?
On that topic, I can't say if he was or was not. Now, if you're talking about at the hospital and so forth, I can't say that. Now, once we all got home and got settled into the house that we rented, then yes, I saw him there. But I can't tell you who was at the hospital and who was not.
Well, maybe I'm asking wrong, but when he was there afterwards, was he supportive? Was he?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yes.
Oh, that was my question.
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and excuse Ms. Williams at this time, okay? Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, and defense, next witness. There are 5 people in the waiting room, all through Zoom. You want me to read you the names?
No, I've got him over here. I'm just looking for my list. witness is also testifying by, our next witness is also testifying by Zoom. It's witness number 18, Jason Caldwell.
Okay. Mr. Caldwell, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. My name is Judge Zambrano, and we're here in the courtroom. I'll need you to raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
The next voice you will hear is Mr. Christopher Anderson, and he's on the screen, and he'll be asking you questions. Mr. Anderson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Caldwell, as you know, I'm Robert Hayes' lawyer, one of two of his lawyers in the case. Let's start by asking you to please introduce yourself and explain what your connection is to Robert Hayes.
Okay. My name is Jason Caldwell. Me and Robert Hayes have been best friends since I met him at Bethune-Cookman College, which is now Bethune-Cookman University, back in 2001, which was my freshman year. So we've been friends for quite some time. That's my relationship with him.
And you say you met each other at Bethune-Cookman College. Did you have an opportunity to observe Robert Hayes being helpful to others at Bethune-Cookman College?
I mean, as a freshman, he was helpful to me, you know, because he came in the year before I did, helped me get adjusted to dorm life, being part of the band, you know, traveling, learning my way around the campus, learning my way around the bookstore. I mean, those are things that an incoming freshman really just doesn't know in the beginning. But he took that time to help me out with those types of things. Getting used to being away from home. Like, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and, you know, Rob is from Florida. So, you know, getting used to Florida life and things like that. He helped me out. I mean, he helped other friends out across the campus as well. As far as, like, financial things, he would give money. He even let me borrow clothes at one point in time. Like, I know he's bigger than me, but it was a couple different jerseys that I wanted to wear that he had. He let me borrow those. I mean, helped out with my laundry. I mean, did a lot of things while I was in school.
Okay, so he showed you the ropes at the new school, right?
Yes, sir.
And he befriended you at Bethune-Cookman, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said best friend. What do you mean when you said best friend when I first started talking?
I'm actually Robert's daughter's, his first child's godfather. So when I say best friend, that is someone that I can depend on at any time or day. I'm sorry, give me a second.
Take your time. If you want to take a moment, get a Kleenex or something, you're free to do so.
That's my best friend. Even during this process that he's going through now,
Yes, sir.
when we communicate, it's not about him or what he's dealing with.
So he genuinely cares for you as a friend.
Yes, sir. Like I said, even with everything he has going on right now, when he calls me, it's about what's going on in my life, my family, my child. It's not about the stress that he has on him in this situation.
Let me switch the subject.
Yes, sir. While he lived with me in Charlotte, we actually attended church together, and there was mornings where I didn't want to go, but he made me get up and go. Volunteer with my church men's council. Attended Bible study at times. So I would say yes.
What about Robert's character for calmness, peacefulness, or was he a flighty person that would fly off the handle from what you could see?
I've never seen Rob get upset. He was always the cool-headed person in the group, try to talk things through versus altercations or getting physical. Even in moments where you would expect someone to be like just angry, I didn't see that in Rob. No.
So he was a peacemaker.
Yes.
Did you ever observe Robert acting appropriately around other people, women, or children?
No, sir.
And I'll ask the same question, but I'll flip it around. From what you could tell, is it true that Robert always acted appropriately around other people, women, and children?
Yes, sir.
Now, you indicated a moment ago that Robert was friendly. He helped you with clothing and even money at times, correct?
Yes, sir.
What about loyalty? Was Robert a loyal friend, or was he a fair weather friend?
No, he was loyal. I mean, like any friendship, you have times where you don't see eye to eye and you disagree. But even through those time periods, he still remained loyal. He never talked bad about me. He never downed me. He didn't put me in positions where I felt like, I couldn't trust him. He's been there. He's stuck to his word. Yeah, I can't see where he could be. He has never been unloyal to me.
He's been a solid, loyal friend to you over the years, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, different folks have ways of contributing and giving to society. It might be helping out in the garden. It might be playing a musical instrument. It might be reciting a poem. It could be anything. Can you think of any ways that Robert contributed to society, and by that I mean family, friends, anything?
I mean, while Rob was here, like I said before, he volunteered with the men's council of my church. He participated in the 100 Men That Cook. He at one point in time started a business, was in the process of starting a business where he was baking. He took time to bake goods and donate them to different locations. I mean, even with my mom, like, he protected my mom when I wasn't around. So, one night he went by my mom's house and there was someone out there banging on the door. He sat there with my mom until, the police showed up and things like that. So, those are just some of the acts of kindness that I've seen him do, and throughout my time with him or being around him.
Yes, sir. And how about cooking in particular? You mentioned something about bake sales a moment ago, but do you know anything about Robert cooking for other people?
Yeah, like I was saying before, when I came to Florida, he cooked for me. But as far as that's just a passion that he has. He's always been passionate about cooking. And that's why I said he attempted to start his own baking business while in Charlotte, called Pastries by Elise. And I know that he baked goods and donated them. I don't remember exactly to the actual locations, but I know that he did do those things. I was in the house, of course, watching him bake and box up cookies, cupcakes, all kinds of desserts.
Yes, sir. And did you ever have a chance to observe Robert communicating with his own mother, Miss Florence Hayes?
Yes, I mean, he would call his mom all the time, and the conversation was always peaceful and productive and loving.
So as far as you can tell, what you saw was a loving son towards his mother, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think that's all I have. Thank you, sir, for coming out.
All right, thank you. Any
You're welcome.
questions, State?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The next voice you will hear will be the voice of the prosecutor, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
No, how about yourself?
Good, thank you. Just a couple of questions. Mr. Hayes, did he seem to be pretty smart, an intelligent individual?
Yes, sir, I would say so.
And you had talked a little earlier that there were stressful situations you guys were in together, and through those stressful situations, Mr. Hayes was able to keep controlled and composed?
Yes, sir.
You never saw him lash out at anybody because they made him angry or upset him?
No, sir.
And he seemed to be in control of his emotions, you'd agree?
Yes, sir, I would agree.
Have you ever known Mr. Hayes to have any mental issues, meaning like any sort of mental problems?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
And you spent a lot of time with him in college, I'd assume?
I did.
You seem like you're a pretty articulate, smart individual. If he had some sort of mental issue, is that something you would have picked up on?
I'm not a doctor, so I really don't know, but if I felt like he was crazy or something like that, then maybe I could say something, but I couldn't diagnose him.
Understand, but you didn't see any instances where he was acting crazy, correct?
No, sir, I did not.
Never saw any instances where he looked up at Martians in the sky, right? Talk to them?
No, sir. No,
Never
sir.
had any instances you got him down on the floor like a dog and barked for no reason?
No, sir, not in front of me, no.
Okay. Any instances where he had social anxiety or social issues?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
Yes, John, my client is handing me.
Yes, of course, yeah. Again, the next voice will be Mr. Anderson, Mr. Hayes' lawyer.
Sir, did you have an opportunity to see Robert interact with the mother of either of his two children?
His first child, Kylie, I did. Yes, sir.
And how did he treat Kyle?
He loves his daughter. I mean, that his daughter, his children in general are his world. It's one of the biggest things that he and I talk about is just being fathers in general and being there for each other's children.
Yes, sir. Now, you know that Robert's been convicted of these 3 murders, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you still in communication with each other?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I received a message from Robert last night. And as I said before, during this process, he and I have had multiple conversations, either through email or smart mail, whatever that system is, or over the phone. And as I said before, like during this process, the conversations are always positive, upbeat, and productive for both of us. Just like I'm there praying for him and what he's going through, he prays for me, and we have those conversations when we do talk.
Okay, so even though he's incarcerated and locked up, he's still being a help to you. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Even though he's currently incarcerated, he still finds the time to speak with me and wish me happy birthday on my birthday. Tell me about, call and ask me about how my day is going, how things are going with me and my child, my job, my career, things like that. Even while he's been locked up this entire time.
Yes, sir. So it's fair to say that Robert's life still matters to you, am I right?
Very much so.
And will Robert still be important to you even if he has to spend the rest of his life in prison?
Yes, sir.
Would you feel a loss if Robert was sentenced to death and executed?
Judge, I'm going to object. Stand by. Yes, sir. I'm going to object to the question. Defendant.
Madam Court Reporter, read me the last question, please.
Would you feel a loss if Robert was sentenced to death and executed?
I'll sustain the objection. Thank you.
And just to be clear, you still consider Robert a friend, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Nothing further, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell, okay?
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, next witness, please.
Your Honor, the defense now calls Ms. Connie Sifford.
Okay. Again, for the record, this one will be also testifying through Zoom. It's still connecting. Ms. Sifford, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good morning. My name is Judge Raul Zambrano.
Good morning, Judge.
Ms. Sifford, I'm going to ask you to please raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. The next voice you will hear will be Christopher Anderson. He's the attorney for Robert Hayes. You may proceed, Mr. Anderson.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I observed that the video image of Ms. Sifford is very, very kind of dark. I can see her, but I wonder if it's okay with the jury. If it's good for me, Your Honor, I wonder if it's okay with the jury.
This is something I cannot control. It's lighting on her end, so I don't know if I don't know where she's viewing the video from a different. I don't know if it's a phone or a laptop or an iPad or I don't know what she has, so I can't
We
help.
kind of got your image of you from the chin up. Are you able to adjust your camera or anything?
I'm actually on my cell phone, so
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not able.
Okay. Well, now that's a little better. Whatever you did right there is better. So let's just stick with that. All right, Ms.
Okay.
Let's start. What is your name and your connection to Robert Hayes?
My name is Connie Sifford. My connection with Mr. Hayes, I met him through my son, Jason Caldwell, when he attended Bethune-Cookman College. And Robert became just like a son to me when I met him.
And do you regard him as a second son of your own?
Would you repeat that for me, please?
Yes. Do you regard Robert as something of a second son to you?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson, I think it's far more important that you be closer to the microphone than on the video. Yeah, this is a microphone over here.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
What can you say about Robert's sense of humor?
Robert always had a humorous sense of humor. I mean, he kept you laughing all the time. I never saw any other side than just a humorous young man that liked to have fun.
Yes, ma'am. And was that a personal thing for Robert, or did he try to make other people have fun too and laugh?
Everybody that was around him had fun. Like I said, he was just a humorous person. You know, you couldn't help but enjoy his company. He kept you laughing.
And did you have an opportunity to observe what kind of friend Robert was to your own son?
Robert was a great friend to my son, because my son went to Florida to go to Bethune-Cookman College from North Carolina. And after meeting Robert in school a couple of times, he came to Charlotte. Like, he came home for Thanksgiving, had dinner with us. As a matter of fact, we went down and picked them up and took them back to school. He fell in love with my sweet potato pies, so I ended up having to make pies instead of the Florida because he wanted my sweet potato pies. We just enjoyed him. He's just like our family member.
Yes, ma'am. And do you know anything about Robert being somewhat of a cook himself?
Oh, yes. Once he joined the church that I belong to now, my Olive Presbyterian Church, he got involved with the men's ministry, and they did 100 men in the kitchen cook-off, and Robert won first place for his cheesecake that he made.
So that when Robert told you your own sweet potato pie was good, you took that as a real powerful compliment, right?
I sure did.
Now, you mentioned about Robert attending church and being involved in the men's ministry and involved in the cooking competition. Was he also just a regular churchgoer as well? Did he go to church on Sundays?
Yes, he was a regular churchgoer, but like I said, you know, he joined the men's ministry. And the men's ministry at my church, they did like a widowers and widows dinner every year, and he helped with that, serving the women, helping with the food. And when I say widows and widows, it was men and women that they prepared a meal for. He helped prepare that meal and helped serve those people.
Did you have a chance, I take it, you did have a chance to observe Robert in social settings like church, where there would be children and adults and women, right?
Yes.
Did Robert always act appropriately around others and women and children?
Yes.
You never saw him act disrespectfully or inappropriately towards anybody, did you?
No.
Is it fair to say that Robert is a brave person?
You say a brave person?
Yes, ma'am, a brave, courageous person.
I would say so.
Tell me about the incident of some frenzied lunatic trying to bang down your house door. Tell us about what happened.
Robert had came by to visit me, like oftentimes he would come by to see how I was doing. And that particular night he came by and we were sitting here talking, and a gentleman started beating on my door and hollering, let me in, that they were after him. So of course I wasn't gonna let him in my house. I called the police, and Robert stayed with me until police came and got the guy. And he did not leave me until he made sure I was safe, because my husband is an over-the-road truck driver, and I was at home alone by myself that night. So he stayed with me to make sure I was safe before he left.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you and I talked before, and some days have passed between then and now. Have you thought of any other good qualities or virtues that Robert might have that I neglected to ask you about? Or have I pretty well covered it?
You pretty much covered it, but I would just like to add the overall, I only saw a respectable young man that treated everybody with respect. even the persons in my church family, they respected him.
Okay, so when you got the news that he's been convicted of these 3 murders, I take it that came as a real shock to you, right?
It did. Actually, my heart sunk because I could never imagine the person that I know to do anything like the crime that he's been accused of doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Like I said, I love him. I love him just like one of my sons. I have 4 sons, and I love him just like one of my sons.
And
So it's a hurtful situation.
let me ask you this. Has he enriched your own life?
Has he enriched my life?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, he did. Like I said, when my son went away to Florida, it was hard for me. And when he met Robert, it was like he met a family member away from home. And just moving to Charlotte, the time that he was here, we enjoyed him. Like I said, family. He's just like family. We shared many dinners and meals together. It wasn't just church. He would just like to cook stuff and say, "Mom, I made this. I want you to try it out and see what you think." And then later on, he decided to go into culinary school. And he's a great chef.
Yes, ma'am. If you're ever down in Florida, do you plan on trying to visit him at prison? Do you ever get down this way?
If I could get to Florida, I would come visit him in prison.
And would you experience a loss if Robert were sentenced to death and executed?
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, anything else?
I haven't asked a question.
I'm sorry?
I just have a few questions, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Sifford, the next voice you will hear is that of the prosecutor, Mr. Lewis. You may proceed.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you. You've talked to Robert on many occasions. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Did he seem like an intelligent individual?
Yes.
When you would talk to Robert and see him interact with other people, did he have a good personality, and was he pretty a sociable individual?
Yes.
During all the times that you interacted with Robert, did you ever see him in any situation overreact, get scared, do something just really impulsive?
No.
What about any mental issues? Did you see any signs of him having any mental disease or disorder?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
You too. Thank you.
You want to ask one more question, Mr. Anderson?
My client had a question he wants answered.
Ms. Sifford, Mr. Anderson has one more question or a couple more questions for you. Just make sure you get
Okay.
close over here.
Ms. Sifford, did you have an opportunity to see Robert with the mother of his child at any time?
Yes, I saw Robert with the mother of his first child. They came up to visit my son, Jason, and that was the first time I got to meet the mother of his child. Other than that, I know that every summer his daughter would come to California, to Florida, to spend time with her dad. I never got to meet the second baby's mother.
Yes, ma'am. Well, the baby and the mother that you did see with Robert's child, how did he treat his baby? How did he treat the mother of his baby child?
He treated her well respected. He treated his daughter like any other father that loved their daughter. He was a great father to his daughter.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it, right? Okay, thank you, Ms. Sifford. I'm going to go ahead and excuse you at this time, okay?
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, defense, you want to call another witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, the defense now calls Leticia Cornelius.
Okay, Again, this witness is through Zoom.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I think she has connected. Ms. Cornelius? Ms. Cornelius, can you hear me? Need to unmute yourself.
Your Honor, I don't know if she can hear you.
Ms. Cornelius, can you hear me? Okay, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. This is Judge Zambrano speaking. Ms. Cornelius,
Hey.
welcome. If you'll raise your right hand and be sworn, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. You can put your hand down. The next voice that you will hear is that of Attorney Christopher Anderson. He's the attorney for Robert Hayes. You may proceed, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, would you please state your name and your connection to Robert Hayes for the record?
Leticia Cornelius. I guess you would say friend, old classmate.
Yes, ma'am. And were you a Bethune-Cookman College classmate of Robert Hayes?
Yes.
Now, you look like you're sitting inside some technical area. Are you inside your truck?
My truck. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. You work as a cross-country trucker?
I am.
I'm going to ask you some questions about some of Robert's qualities. I'll start with
Okay.
this. Do you know, can you say anything about Robert having a sense of humor, getting other people laughing?
Yes. Absolutely. He was. I would call him somewhat of a class clown.
When he tried to
Sorry,
get
I'm
other
trying
people...
to eliminate these sounds.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me good?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
I think we're both waiting for the other to talk, but I'll go ahead. So, from what you could tell, was Robert the kind of fellow that would try to get other folks laughing and having a good time?
Yes, always. At least I always thought. I took, a couple of classes with him, and he was always trying to get people to laugh.
And was he sociable? Would he try to get people to go out for a drink at the neighborhood bar?
I would think so. Yeah. So we used to hang out and do that.
Let me ask about working, and I'm going to try to let you do it in your own words. You know anything about Robert working?
As far as, of course, working when he was where I'm at, which is North Carolina, I know he worked at a place called McCreesh Place. Don't know how to spell it. I want to say it was like maybe a halfway house or a recovery type place, kind of, sort of. I'm not exactly sure. But other than that, he used to work security at one of the bars that I worked at. And outside of working, I can't really think. I know he loved to cook, so that was an attempt to, try and get into that career field.
All right, I'll ask it a little differently. Was Robert a loafer, or was he a guy that tried to work jobs?
I would not call him a loafer. No, he would go to work. As far as I know, he would go to work.
You mentioned something about his cooking. Can you tell us a little bit about Robert and his cooking?
He loved to cook. I want to say, I can remember, what's it called? I want to say it was called Pastries by Elise. He was really good at baking, and he would cook.
Was that something that he did just for himself, or was it sort of a gift he extended to others?
No, he cooked for other people. He would cook around the house. I really want to say he wanted to do that as a career. That was like one of his things that he wanted to do.
Was he in reality a good cook, or was that just something in his own mind?
No, he was a good cook. I've eaten some of his food before. He was a good cook. I know he was really good at baking, though.
So I take it you were around Robert. I think you hinted a moment ago you had a job working in the bar or a restaurant at one point.
Yeah, but at the bar, it was kind of more of a security type. Well, at the time that I was working there, it was more security. So he wasn't really cooking nothing or in nobody's kitchen.
Well, from what you could see of Robert, did he always appear to act appropriately around other people and women and children?
From what I could see of Robert, what I knew of Robert, he was always really respectful. Again, he was always a jokester, so he always wanted people to be happy and laughing. He was respectful of kids, women, just anybody.
And have you always regarded Robert as a good friend to you?
To me, yes. Yes, I could talk to Robert about things, not that my life was all that difficult, but I really considered him a good friend because I could talk to him. Again, he was good for making jokes. He was great for hanging out. I used to bowl with him. We would have great times together. So I never had any problem with Robert.
So he was a good friend.
Yes.
And how about church? Was Robert a reverent person?
Yes, we have gone to church together. He definitely would go to church. That was at the time, of course, again, where he was living in North Carolina. We would all go to church together, me and Jason and some of his other family. And of course, it was like almost like a day event. We would go to church, then they would cook after church, and we would just hang out at church.
And I take it that the news of these murder convictions has come as a shock to you, right?
I am still in disbelief. That is an absolute shock.
Fair to say that as compared to the Robert you experienced in your life, these murders strike you as completely out of character, right?
Right. That is not anybody that I know.
And at least in the times that you saw Robert interacting with other people, he always treated women, children, and others respectfully and appropriately. Right?
Yes. Correct.
All right. If I may have a moment to confer with my client.
Yes. Just stand by, Ms. Cornelius.
Okay.
Out of sheer curiosity, where are you at right now? What state?
I'm actually in Florida.
Oh. You're not right outside the courthouse, are you?
I'm not. I'm over here in, what is this, like, I want to say it's Lakeland.
Okay.
Arbondale.
All right. Mr. Anderson.
I have nothing further.
Thank you so much. Mr. Urbanek, the next voice you will hear would be Assistant State Attorney Urbanek. He represents the state, Mr. Urbanek.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Ms. Cornelius.
Hey,
How are you doing today?
pretty good considering.
I just want to ask you a couple questions about Mr. Hayes. You talked about your time in college with him, and would it be fair to say that in your experiences with him, he had no issues in his social interactions with people?
Not that I saw whatsoever.
Would you say he was an extrovert or an introvert?
I would definitely say he was extrovert.
Like to make people laugh, crack jokes, things like that.
Always.
Did you notice when you knew him back then, or since you've known him ever to struggle with any type of mental disorder?
No.
And I know you're not a doctor, but you never saw anything that made you think that he was suffering from any type of mental illness.
No.
And having gone to college with him, did you consider him to be a pretty smart guy?
I did. At least from the classes that I've taken with him, and of course, college is not cheap, but you're there for a while, so I'd hope you would get out what you're putting in. But I think that he was a pretty smart guy.
And what about over the years in terms of his decision making? Did he seem to be somebody who struggled making decisions in his life?
I wouldn't say any different than I would. I mean, he did work. He did. I would say that he moved, because I kind of move a lot too. But just to kind of find out where you want to be or what you want to do in life, I don't think it was a struggle though.
And he wasn't an impulsive person.
For different things.
I'm sorry.
No.
And I want to ask you about his job. About when you said he worked security at the front door. Was that like a bar or a nightclub?
Yes.
And how long did he do that job for? Do you know?
Ooh. I would say maybe 7 or 8 months. 'Cause I don't think I was there for too long.
And was that back?
Maybe.
Was that back in college?
No, this was actually after we moved. Actually, after he moved up to Charlotte. I don't know about in school.
Well, was he able to handle doing that job? Working as security at a bar or a restaurant?
Repeat that for me.
Was that something he was able to handle? I mean, he could take going in every day and dealing with security issues at this restaurant or bar?
Yeah, because it wasn't not like the typical riff-raff type of bar or anything. So it was a pretty quiet place. They were just there just in case.
I just have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. I have no further questions. Drive safe.
Okay, you're okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Stand by.
Your Honor, my client wants me to ask
Okay.
more.
If you can come forward, and then next voice you'll hear will be Mr. Anderson again. He has one or two more questions.
Ma'am, despite the circumstances, is Robert still a person that you care about?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you still consider him to be a friend of yours?
I do.
And will you still maintain some sort of communications with him, even if he has to spend the rest of his life in prison?
As best as I can, sure.
All right, thank you very much.
Nothing else, Judge.
All right, Ms. Cornelius, this concludes your testimony. Thank you so much. You have a safe day, okay?
Well, thank you. You have a good one.
Bye-bye. All right.
Bye.
We have to take a lunch break at this time. I know you have a couple more witnesses. Is it all right if we take them in the afternoon?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will take a lunch at this time. What time is your expert this afternoon?
She's on standby whenever.
Okay, as far as the other witnesses, do you know how long they'll be?
I've only got a couple of live witnesses that are at the courthouse, Your Honor.
Okay.
I've got
Well, it was a 1:30 lunch break, that work out for you? Start up at 1:30?
Yeah, that should be sufficient.
Okay, so we will be in recess until 1:30. Please remind you not to speak about the case with anyone, okay?
Yeah.
Your camera off?
Yeah. Okay, the jury's out. We will be in recess. Thank you. Meet you at 1:30.